Based on when you're watching this, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're going to talk today about Ashes of Creation.
Anyway, so what'd you think about playing the Battle Royale?
I actually enjoyed it. It had its quirks just because it is in beta.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were a few times where I didn't even end up on a griffin and I was walking down to the ground. I thought that was funny. But then something picked up and we actually got a griffin, which that made it actually enjoyable to go down that high and kind of pinpoint where you wanted. And it was fun. And the whole aspect behind it was good.
Yeah, I like how they're doing a test thing that's open to the public.
That was good to see too. Is that they do have that test open to the public that allows people who couldn't get in, like ourselves, to actually play.
Yeah, I mean, we could get in if we wanted to, but of course, money.
Well, you had to pay a subscription,
right?
Pay for that early beta. Based on how much you paid for, you got certain perks.
You do realize that's not a subscription, right? A subscription is something that you pay on a monthly basis, and it's a one-time fee to buy.
Well, it led to your monthly basis. You paid so much. I mean, they had offers at ashesofcreation.com, and you pay. I think the lowest one was $80. You got maybe a month or two. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I don't know how long. Either way, the fact is that I really enjoyed the open beta for the fact that the graphics was really pretty, and just seeing where the MMO is coming along. Even though this is the Battle Royale, it was still pretty cool to see.
Yes, it definitely was. Even for the fact that you didn't get all your skills or anything like that, you did get access to the skills, and they were just put on the weapons or the armor, which did actually make it fun. I've played several battle royales, and you don't really get much of anything, just that weapon or that armor.
Mm-hmm.
And in here, you actually had to, if you picked up a set of armor and you were in a fight, you had to stop and repair that armor. And you had to use these blue jewels that you picked up to actually repair it.
Right.
So that was a kind of a different aspect behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way that they set this all up and how they have the forums and stuff to help with the community finding bugs and all of that, and seeing it from your view and the on the lower graphic side, and then seeing it from my view on the medium to high graphic side, and how it's still playable on the low graphic side.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely playable. It's not the best looking thing. You can see it on a few of my views. I did switch over to using your computer, and it was a heck of a lot better.
Right.
But it was a good thing. I mean, I don't have the best of computers, and I still got to play. I still got to enjoy.
Right, which is one thing that they were talking about, wanting to make sure that even though you don't have a high-powered rig, you can still play this game.
Yes, and that was great to see. Even for somebody that doesn't have a lot of money can get into this game and actually play.
Right.
And even being a subscription-based game, that's not a lot per month.
No, I would rather do subscription-based than a play-to-win.
Pay to win?
Yeah, pay to win.
I like to play to win too.
Yeah, whatever. You get what I'm saying here.
Yeah, I mean, pay to win is just a bad way. It leads to a whole bunch of issues I mean, even if you don't want to pay that money, then you're kind of stuck in the back.
Yeah, you get left behind by everybody around you because everybody else is getting experience scrolls or potions and just shooting up there or just using real life cash to get in-game gold and get the highest gear, and then you're just kind of there.
Well, we saw that a lot in Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah.
That was a lot in there. When it first started, you were constantly seeing lower levels like yourself, and then they release it all to here, boost your experience. So here's extra packs or skins or armor, a bunch of other things like that.
Right. So do you think that the MMO is going to hold up to the Battle Royale?
I'm hoping that it'll surpass it. Yeah. I mean, some things that I've seen from when they've showed bits and pieces of the MMO, you do get aspects of this Battle Royale.
Mm-hmm. You mean the PvP kind of feel?
Yeah, I mean, you get aspects of the map, the buildings, things like that. I mean, the big difference is at the bottom of the screen in this Battle Royale was that 4-bar system with the 1 through 5 at the bottom right.
Right.
When they showed that MMO aspect, you got one big skill bar at the bottom.
Right, yeah, that's kind of a standard UI for a MMORPG.
Right.
Yeah, having the big skill bar at the bottom. So far, I've really been enjoying watching the dev diaries and the information, how open Intrepid Studios has really been about Ashes of Creation, and
that's one thing that has kind of taken me back. I mean, we look at these bigger name studios, EA, Blizzard, BioWare. They're not really showing you the ins and outs of these games. Where Intrepid, I know that they're community-based, community-driven kind of company, and they're showing you every aspect of this game. Now, it doesn't seem to be every little detail, but in their dev diaries, they have shown buildings being created. They recently showed work on the dragon, their horses.
Little aardvark thing.
I was going to mention that, their little aardvark. It's been quite a surprise to actually see those and how they're coming to life, which these other games and other companies, they don't really show that.
Right. Yeah, I really do like how they are showing it without giving too much away. It's like watching a trailer for a movie. You watch the trailer, oh, well, I just watched the entire movie, are all the best parts of the movie. And a lot of games today do give quite a bit away before the game even releases. So them keeping like the lore to themselves and all of that has actually been a pleasant thing for me, because this way when I get into the game, it's going to be a surprise. It's going to be an actual adventure, because I won't know ahead of time of what's going on.
Yeah, especially since we haven't been able to get those subscription packages to be in the betas, Alpha 1, Alpha 2, any of those. We were finally able to actually do this Apocalypse playthrough.
Right. So what did you think of the new trailer that they released today?
You know, I thought it was a good mix. To me, it looks like they're throwing everything in this game that you could possibly want. From dragons to dinosaurs to...
mushrooms.
Oh yeah, attacking mushrooms. It seems like they want everything in this game, so you don't have a reason to leave it. And I can't really find a reason to leave it.
So, on the animal husbandry, you can crossbreed animals to get unique animals. So, can you, like, crossbreed a griffin with a velociraptor to get, like, a disco raptor?
I think it might ask you to kill it.
The raptor?
Yeah, it comes out and kill me, please. I don't know how I feel about this whole crossbreeding thing.
Well, it doesn't crossbreed the animals as in crossbreeding them into a new creature. It just gives you, it unlocks like special skins or makes the mount more epic because it takes on, it gives them special abilities, if you will.
So you crossbreed a griffin and a raptor, and you get what? Faster speed?
If a raptor's, assuming, like, say a raptor is one of the mounts, we don't know, but yeah, you would get like a special skin for your raptor. It comes out looking like Skeletor or something. Or you'll get a stat bonus where it is maybe faster. Or, maybe your griffin will have more attack damage if it's a battle pet. Or, and that's the whole thing about the crossbreeding, isn't so much to make mutant animals. This isn't the fly.
It's Dr. Moreau's Island.
Yeah, it's not to make mutant animals, it's to get special rare animals, rare skins, higher stats, higher abilities. At least that's what I've been understanding from what little information we have gathered from the whole animal husbandry part.
So when, say, like, you take two different horses, you have a Clydesdale, and then you have an Arabian.
Mm-hmm.
Now, an Arabian is a relatively fast horse. Right. A Clydesdale is a very powerful horse.
So say high stamina.
Okay, so now we're just talking stamina. Now, what if I want something that has the speed of that Arabian, but the strength of that Clydesdale? Can I do that with this?
Well, you would have to ask the people developing the game. But that's the general concept of it, is to be able to make unique mounts. Or battle pets, or, a very powerful cow.
Power cow.
Power cow. That should be a superhero. Power cow.
We had a conversation about this yesterday or a few days ago. That does not go with every superhero.
It does too. It should. Yeah, it should. Yeah, see, you have nothing to say. That's what I thought.
I don't.
Anyways, back onto the topic at hand. The fact is that this game is very exciting, especially for someone like me. I've always been a big MMORPG player. And that was some of the first games I ever got into was the PC MMORPGs.
So what was the first MMO that you played?
WoW.
And from what you've seen from the Ashes of Creation podcasts, their dev diaries, all of that, how does this compare to WoW?
Well, it's, as far as the difficulty or the intricacy of the game, the culture of the game, the economics of the game, it's as advanced, if not more advanced than WoW, which is something that I really like and enjoy. And the graphics are a lot higher than WoW. WoW is more of a cartoon base, where this is more on the realistic end, which is really nice. And then it comes with its whole new features that WoW never had, like the whole weather factor, the season changes, all of that, which is just exciting to see. Not to mention the node system, which is a whole thing on itself.
WoW, in the difficulty aspect, how would you say that's completely changed?
What do you mean?
Well, do you have specific areas where there's high level creatures, or is everywhere just I'm not going there zone?
You mean in WoW?
Yeah.
In WoW, it's specific areas, depending, you kind of work your way out and through the radius, and, you got 1 through 5 level, and then 5 through 10 in this area, and so on and so forth, and it shows you warning signs and stuff when you're entering a high level area that's too high for you.
Okay. And from everything that we've seen here, you don't think that we'll get any of that?
No, I do. I didn't say we wouldn't. I think it's going to be fairly similar in the fact that it's not going to de-level the creatures to your lowest member. I think it's going to be zone-based as far as difficulty of creature. Say if you're level 5, you can't go to the level 50 zone without dying a lot.
Right. Now, if you were a level 5 in any other MMO...
It wouldn't matter. Most MMOs, they de-level everything. Take Elder Scrolls Online, you could really go anywhere, given if you're not running into a boss fight or a horde, because that would be difficult for anybody at any level. But you could really go anywhere, and it de-levels the character to match your level, to make it barely a challenge on a one-on-one fight. Which is one thing I'm really happy to see about Ash, is it looks like that they won't be doing that, and they'll be keeping the difficulty of encountering a creature that's level 20, 25 when you're level 2. So you gotta be careful wandering around in the woods, and you gotta employ some serious sneaky skills if you want to get to these higher levels.
That would definitely make it difficult.
Right, which makes it fun.
Yes, some would say if the difficulty's too high, they're not even going to touch it. So, how do you think Intrepid Studios is going to balance that?
If the difficulty's too high?
Yes. I mean, you have some content creators out there, some game developers that say, oh, well, this area is too difficult. We don't have a lot of people going into this area. So we want to buff everything and make it a lot easier for them.
Then they get party members. That's one of the nice things about Ashes of Creation. They are big on player-to-player content. So if you want to even the odds, since the areas all stay the same and don't match your level, you just get a few friends. Would be one way to balance it out, which is probably the way that they're thinking that they want this game to go. Is that, okay, this area is intentionally difficult and will probably require either a very OP character or player, or a few friends get together and they accomplish the quest that's in that area or gather the resources in that area because of it. Or you have to enable the mind of strategy and figure out how, as a weaker player, you can get through this. Whether it be just aggroing one creature at a time and keeping it one-on-one, or being super sneaky and just, a coward. Just sneaking around everybody.
Right.
Which was generally my tactic in WoW.
So overall, more difficulty with this game than WoW.
More than likely, yes.
Which for some would probably be good news.
Yeah. It depends on how they set it up. I mean, all of this is speculation at this point. Because Intrepid has not released a whole lot of information.
Well, especially on their MMO itself. Now, Apocalypse, well, we do know a handful of things. We just got to play it.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, Apocalypse is more of a beta testing arena than it is anything else. And it's just mostly to help them get the fundamentals of the game down before release. To make sure everything's running smoothly and the community's happy with their progress. And really get the community involved. Even the ones that don't have the access to the alphas or betas for the MMO.
Right. Yeah, the big thing about this Apocalypse was that their server testing. Mm-hmm. When they first launched it, it was definitely a stress test on their servers.
I would really like to see the beta for the Castle Sieges. See if they do an open beta for that, because now that would be interesting. Well, really a bigger tell than this Battle Royale as far as some of the gameplay for the MMO itself. I mean, the Battle Royale shows you a little bit of what it's going to be like PvP. Just, your standard player versus player. But it doesn't really show you much of the environment. And it doesn't give you much of the inside look on what the sieges are going to look like.
Right. I mean, in this Battle Royale, you do see environment destruction.
Yeah, I was more talking about the actions against environmental creatures. Fighting environmental creatures and what that combat will look like.
Oh, yes, that combat will be completely different. But then it'll be up to their AI system. At that point, how their AI system works.
Right. Yeah, which is a fascinating idea, that the fact that they're going to be doing the tab targeting and also the, what would you call it, point and shoot?
Yeah, I would call that a point and shoot system. I mean, you have to aim and look at where you're going to attack.
Yeah, the aim targeting, I guess. And having a combination of both of those is actually a very fascinating concept that I don't think most games have done, to have both. And just, the whole factors that go along with that, like increasing the critical damage, hitting critical spots, depending on which one you're doing. You're relying on the, what is it? RNGesus for
hit bonuses?
Yeah, for hit bonuses, for your critical hit. You're relying on that when you're using tab targeting. When you're doing the point and shoot targeting system, right, it's, did you get a critical hit did you hit them in the head? Did you hit them in their weak spot?
Right.
Which is more of a skill-based targeting system instead of a random generated targeting system.
Right. I did try their tab targeting, which I don't think is actually active in this in Ashes of Creation Apocalypse.
The tab targeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it is. I would get a border around the screen itself that didn't allow for any real movement whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's actually in effect on this playthrough.
Right. Yeah, it could not be. I mean, it might also be weapon-based, because that's what they were talking about, that certain weapons will be tabbed weapons and certain weapons won't. So it could just be you never picked up the right weapon.
It is possible that I didn't pick up the right weapon either.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately we didn't get to play a whole lot.
No.
But we did get to play some. So there's something.
Yeah, that's all I could ask for was a bit of play. We've been watching now for this MMO for how long now? And
2 years? Tracking this MMO's project for about 2 years.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the armor race skins?
I don't know if I enjoy that aspect. Now, from what I understand is that you have all your armor pieces, and every bit of those pieces attuned to you, right, and what your race is.
Slightly, yes.
So if I decide that I want to be a high elf, every piece of armor that I pick up will be high elf style.
Sorta.
To some degree. Yeah. It'll have a high elf flair to it.
Right.
But if, for some odd reason, I decide that I want to look like a human, I like their armor sets, I like their armor styles, I want to look like a human, I now can't.
Yeah. I mean, you do have that aspect in there, but also when you're talking, from what I understand about the armor sets, is that when you're talking about the slight changes based on race, the armor set itself has its own cosmetic uniqueness, and that stays with the armor set.
So we're talking minor differences.
You're talking very minor differences to give it, the elven feel or the high elf feel. You're not, but the armor itself will have a particular cosmetic design to it that will stick with the armor. Whether it be a glass armor or an obsidian armor or whatever.
Right.
It will have that feel to it. It'll just have a slight race touch, I guess, to it.
And something like that, I definitely can live with. It's just, it kind of bums me out just because sometimes I want to mix and match. Sometimes I want to go with that other look instead of this look.
Well, I mean, it's not full armor sets. You're going to have 16 different armor slots. So I'm pretty sure you can mix and match to your heart's content. Mixing and matching is not going to be a problem.
Right, especially with 16 armor sets.
Slots, yes.
Slots.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more armor sets than 16.
But
the slots are going to... I mean, 16 is an insane amount of slots. I don't think I've ever played a game that has 16 armor slots.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah, most things about this game is going to be customizable, which is amazing. I'm really excited to play the MMO, and I can't wait till it comes out.
I can't either. Now, a big thing about this MMO was bringing players together.
Right.
I mean, player-driven everything, from nodes to shops, to your own freehold, to your own caravan.
Right.
Everything's player-driven. I mean, once a month you're voting on a new mayor for the node that you decided to stay at.
Depending on the type of node it is, yes. Because sometimes you're just beating the holy love and pulp out of the person next to you in the arena to become mayor. There's no voting required. In other nodes, you might be just paying them off and bribing everybody, or you got the biggest purse to become mayor. And some is based off quests. If you do, like, the divine, how righteous are you? And that's how you get elected to be mayor. I think it's only the economic node that you get voted in. I can't remember.
I believe the economic node was the coin purse. How big is your coin purse?
Right.
And your scientific node was your democracy, somebody being voted in.
That sounds about right.
Now, what about the solo player? How easy is it for the solo player to actually get through this without being affected by...
Relying on others?
Yes.
Depends on how they set up the game. But from the sounds of it, it looks like they... Even though this game is going to be mostly based off of working together, there will be ways for you to solo it out. You're just going to have to work a little harder because you're not in a team. You're not being a team player. So you'll be able to do it. You won't really have to deal with people if you don't want to. I mean, the whole aspect of the game is to build a community and make friends and work together and all of this. But you can just sit there and grind it out and just interact with the shopkeepers and just find loot and take solo quests and do all that without interacting with people. I just have a feeling it's going to be a lot more difficult, which most things are more difficult when you're doing it by yourself. How do you feel about this whole epic dragon mount and the idea of mounts having to be replaced?
Well, let's start with the epic dragon mount. Now, they already told us the dragon mount itself is reserved for mayors and guild leaders.
Right.
So, if you have a castle, one of the 5 castles in the guilds, or in the map, there's 5 castles in the map. Each of those castles has 1 dragon. If those castles are being attacked, that dragon is usable.
For like 30 minutes.
Yeah, for a decent amount of time.
Right.
Given. But that's a good aspect for that guild.
Mm-hmm. It's a benefit.
Yes, I mean, you've worked so hard to get this castle, to hold this castle, and you should have an advantage. It's your home turf. So, set point match, you've got a dragon. Now, granted, if the people attacking you have trebuchets, catapults, a bunch more siege equipment, and they're ready for that onslaught, then good on them. But the playing field is now level if both sides are prepared, which we've been told that both sides will get the amount of time to prepare. So hopefully they do it right.
Mm-hmm.
So the dragon should not be a over advantage. It should be something that you can provide covering fire with for a short period of time. Hopefully turning the side to your favor to win that fight.
Right.
So as far as those castles go, that I'm great with that. As far as the metropolises, the mayors having a dragon for their metropolis, I'm not okay with.
What's the difference between the guild leader and a mayor having a dragon?
Because you have so many more people than a guild. A guild is maxed out at what, 300?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm throwing that number out there. I believe I heard it before. I believe it's 300. Now, a metropolis, you're going to have more.
More than likely, though, they'll probably max out how many people in the metropolis can actively participate in the siege. And also on top of that, they said that guilds can recruit outside of their guild for a siege, too.
True. But why can't a metropolis recruit a guild with a dragon?
Maybe there's a radius attached to the dragon can only go so far from the guild hall.
True. But I'm thinking with so many more people defending that metropolis or that city, just the node in general, I don't think advantage needs to be swayed. Everybody at that node worked their butts off to get that node to where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to continue to work their butts off to keep it.
Well, that'd be the same thing that's said about the guild hall, is everybody in the guild worked their butts off to get the castle. So they're going to be actively, if not more so, persistent in making sure they keep it, because it's even rarer than nodes. I mean, a node siege is successful and say their node is destroyed, well, they can just move to the next town.
Right.
Whereas a castle, they can't just move to the next castle. They have to once again climb the ranks and do it all over to get another castle.
True, getting a castle is very difficult. That whole guild has to go through that entire process. Which, that's great. But as a city or metropolis or anything like that, you can pick up and you can move. What's stopping you from saying, okay, well, there's a siege, I'm out.
Well, yeah, that's
I'm
what
gone.
I'm saying, is that comes the point of the dragon, is that the mayor had worked hard in whatever form he got elected to become mayor. So he's going to be adamant to protect his node. There will be people that like their town and don't want it destroyed, but there probably will be more that want to evacuate. So having a dragon on their side would give them that extra hand they needed for the civilians that left to help defend the node.
True. But I still don't see a reason for them to have something as significant as a dragon to defend that city or town or what have you. I mean, you do have the castle walls. Can't you build up more defenses or anything like that?
Yeah, you can.
And a part of this time where you know that they're sieging, you rally people to your side.
Right.
You head over to those guilds. You talk with them. You negotiate with them. Hey, come save us. We're an economic node right next to you. If we fall, then we're gonna fall, and it's not gonna be here anymore.
Right, but what if the other node that's attacking has a dragon and uses it for offense? There's no necessarily... I mean, no one actually said it's just going to be defense purpose only.
That's a good point. I mean, if you're giving that offense and defense ability, yeah, sure. Throw up a dragon fight. Now both of them are nullified if both your mayors are actually pretty good riders.
Right, and you're also assuming that the dragon will be seriously OP.
Right, I am assuming that.
I mean, given they'll probably do some really good aerial damage.
I would hope the dragon is pretty beefed up. It's a dragon.
Right.
I mean, I shouldn't be able to walk out there in the field of battle, pull out a sword, and slice this thing down. It should be able to take down oncoming enemies 1-2 hits.
Right. Depending on how powerful they are, obviously.
Right.
So, anyways, back to the other part of the question. The mounts, and it having a lifespan, let's call it.
So, the mounts with the lifespan, I actually think is a great idea. One, because you do have this animal taming and animal husbandry deal where you have somebody go out and you get the animal.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's going out into the woods, which I actually think I would like. You're going out into the woods, you're dealing with all these other creatures, and you're trying to find that animal.
Right.
Tame it, bring it back to someone that deals with animal breeding. Now, you bring it back to them, they breed that animal, and then you sell it.
Right.
So, at that point, if your animals do not have a lifespan, then there's no point for that tamer or that breeder.
Right, you're saying that eventually people are going to find the perfect mount and stick with it if it never disappeared.
Exactly.
Right, you're taking out a whole class of crafting.
Exactly.
If you don't have the lifespan aspect on your animals.
Exactly. Now, if that lion has that lifespan on it, one, I'm going to use it a lot more. I'm going to enjoy the time I've got with it. And I'm going to try to find a tamer or a breeder that could get me another one.
Right.
Which actually puts a need to actually go
demand.
talk. Yeah, there's demand, but it would provide me to go talk with somebody else. So if I didn't do any taming or any breeding, and I had that lion mount that I loved, mm-hmm. and the lifespan finally ran out and it's dead, I'm going to go find another one.
Right.
So that requires me to actually talk to another player who tames or breeds to help me get a lion. And once again, it gives me another quest to do.
Right, that is true. It gives you a kind of a side quest there. But it also, stimulates the in-game economy by creating a demand, which then creates a supply, and so on and so forth. Around the monkey bars we go.
Yeah. Now, that aspect also applies with your armor and your weapons. How do you feel about your armor and your weapons having their own lifespan, a decay time?
Honestly, I really like that because it's not just a decay time. It's armors and weapons will be repairable, but they can only be repaired so many times, which is more realistic in the long run. The more powerful the armor or weapon is, the longer it will last and the more times you can repair it. But, for example, say you find a legendary chess piece that makes you so overpowered that nothing can touch you. Well, that gives a serious disadvantage to all the players around you until they get that chess piece. Now, having a expiration date, if you will, on it, where you can't repair it anymore, you have to go get a new one, requires you to take a step back and let somebody else be king of the hill for a while. It basically puts a balance into the game.
So with that balance there, then you're saying it's more fair for everybody else to get these type of weaponries or armors.
Yeah, it becomes a game of survival of the fittest, and people that are willing to work together and more realistic in the fact that it runs, or it should be running, like an actual living, breathing community.
Well, you're talking survival of the fittest. I think immediately to this battle royale where you're pit against everybody. And the MMO, from what my understanding is not that way.
Well, the MMO it is technically in a PvPvE game. So, the way I see it is it's going to be a game where everybody's your enemy, but everybody's your friend. You need each other to work together to become top dog, but at the same time, the top dogs are going to be fighting to stay top dog. It all throws a balance into it. It's much like what we have in the real world. You have people climbing the ladder of success, and they work with each other and do what they have to do to become, like, say, a CEO, but then you have someone right below you wanting that position also.
Absolutely.
And that's what keeps everything moving forward. And fresh minds and fresh ideas coming in, and
so you're
nothing
saying
becoming stagnant.
So you're saying that all of this gives it a actual living, breathing world.
Yeah. It adds to the whole role-playing part of the RPG.
And I think that's what most MMO players really want.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of games are lacking in the community base. They are too diverse, and they just do their own thing. They try to bring the players together and make it an actual community where you're going to have different ideas and different opinions and different towns that do things differently and all of that. But they never can quite find the linchpin that actually truly brings that all together. And this game, what Intrepid is doing, is really working hard on focusing on making it feel like something you can escape into, something that players want. They want a living, breathing game, an economy that changes and is just as diverse as the real world.
But with a diverse economy like that, doesn't it become more tedious than fun?
No. If anything, it's the opposite. When you have a diverse economy, you won't get bored. That's the biggest problem with games nowadays, is a lot of people get bored easily because it's either too difficult, like you brought up earlier, and there's just no way to become better without paying out money or doing something that they don't really want to do. It becomes too grindy, which is boring. It becomes too stagnant. It's the same people, like, harassing other players, or they're the ones you gotta go to for everything. They become the master crafters, and that's the only person you can ever go to is this one guy, and he can jack up his prices as high as he wants to.
Because he's the only one that you can go to.
Because he's the only one you can go to. This brings more of a balance to it, so it keeps it from becoming stagnant and boring and keeps players interested and has the building blocks in place, if they can pull it off, to keep the game going for many years with little interference. I mean, yes, they will add probably expansions and DLCs and stuff like that here and there and do events and your standard MMORPG stuff, but they won't have to constantly try to revamp the game. The players themselves will keep the communities going.
Well, the players themselves should keep the game moving. I mean, if you have nobody playing, then you really don't have a game.
Right. But on the other end of that, a lot of the games, they just become stagnant and boring. So nobody wants to play.
Yes.
Because, I mean, if you have one guy that just rules a region, right? He became OP because he found the best of the best armor. He might have paid for it. He might have grinded it out. Who knows how he got it, but he got it, and he's just terrorizing everybody like a dictator. Well, you're not going to want to stick around and just be harassed by this guy because nobody can take him off his high horse.
True.
You would rather move on to the next game because this one's not any fun anymore. But if you have a community that is constantly growing and changing and shifting and has the opportunity to throw in new ideas and new possibilities to it, then it creates a world that people are excited to play in, that they want to get lost in, that they adore, that they want to work hard to keep the progress they've made. They want to strive to be better, but then at the same time, anybody can knock them down if they work hard enough, just like the real world.
Well, yes, and especially the fact that now those people, if somebody does become that high ranking official where, you have to go through them just because they have all the armor or anything like that, well, now their armor decays. Well, now their weapons decay. Now you have something in there to actually try and balance that.
Right.
A lot more.
Not to mention that it also keeps them constantly working to keep their position. They know eventually that armor is not going to last forever. That weapon's not going to last forever. So they have to leave their kingdom and still grind it out and work hard to keep being on top. If that's what they want. They can't just pay a bunch of money, get all this OP stuff, and then just sit in their keep and for the rest of the game life. Just harassing the little people. Doesn't work like that in this one. This one, it'll force them to get out, to interact with people, to need other people to stay on top, if that's what they want.
It's trying to get people to actually need other people and to work with other people.
Well, that's one goal of this game. But, I mean, you do, like I said, in any community, you do have the option of not working with people and going it solo. It just makes things a lot more difficult.
Well, there's always the other option, too, of just being straight bad.
Right.
Of going out and taking other players down.
Yeah.
I mean, what's to stop those people?
Well, as you well know, that the developers and stuff have talked about their, the corruption system?
Yeah, that corruption system's out there.
Yeah. That will try to discourage mischievous behavior by not giving... I mean, what would be the point in killing people if you don't get anything from it? If the people don't attack back, then you don't get anything. You just get stuff taken away from you. You just get damaged yourself. And then you gotta work it off. Or you just like killing people, and then eventually you get bounty hunters after you, and you lose stuff. So either way, for those people, it's a lose-lose situation, unless they're just entering in PvP-specific areas, like the caravans. Those are walking PvP targets that are meant to kind of satisfy those people that would rather steal from others than work for themselves. Which there are people out there like that, and there's nothing wrong with that in the game. I mean, it is a role-playing game.
Right, and that's what I was going to mention. I mean, some people just want to watch the world burn, and heck, there is even a part in this game that you can do that with those caravans. I mean, you can stop people moving their goods from city to city or town to town.
Right, yeah, and those are sanctioned PvP events.
Yes.
Those are events that you can engage in anywhere in the world that allow the mischievous behavior to be rewarded. But on the other end of that, outside of those events, the PvP behavior of just attacking and killing lower level players just to get their stuff is discouraged by you don't get any of their stuff unless they attack back and decide to fight you, or it's a duel, obviously.
Right. So at that point, it's a duel. But if the other player does not attack aggressively, they get a negative experience or that corruption.
And they get nothing, no drops.
Yeah, there's no drops, there's no nothing. And if they do that multiple times, bounties start happening on them.
Yeah, and they're easily killed because their stats start to drop also. Given this is all speculation on what the developers have said and all of this, since the game has not come out yet. So, this is just what we know.
It's still good speculation, and it's good to talk about it.
Right.
Thank you for watching. Please remember to hit that like, subscribe, and please leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts.